Hey, everyone. I am excited to be back. We are pulling the call. It is me, Cris Rivers.
And I'm Mandy Mac.
Yes. And we are here with the incredible pole entrepreneur and pole instructor, Laura Jackson.
Hey everybody. Hi.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Laura, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be on this podcast and get to chat with you guys.
Yeah.
Yes, truly our pleasure.
I guess we should start at the beginning. Will you tell us a bit about your pole journey and how you started pole dancing?
Sure. So, I actually was a late bloomer in the pole world. I didn't start until my late 30s, and it was on accident, really. So, I was a runner and I had a little bit of an injury, and I had gone to my doctor to get it checked out. And he said something to me that sat a little funny, which was, as you approach your fourth decade, you should really think about doing activities that focus more on flexibility rather than cardio and strength. And I was like, all right, well, turns out I hadn't really paid any attention to my flexibility at all. I had been super focused on cardio and strength. So I was like, all right, fair enough. But I didn't really feel like there were a lot of options I was familiar with. And so I kind of investigated some things and I decided to try a pole class. And it was extremely challenging. Like physically, but also mentally. I really had to go outside of my comfort zone to try that. And a couple things came from, I mean, a lot of things came from that, but the biggest things that came from that for me were that I realized it wasn't going to be an instant gratification thing for me personally. Like, I am not the kind of polar who can just go in and get things on the first or even second attempt. So it's not going to be instant gratification. And then the second thing that came from it for me was that I was learning that I was able to sort of build on things and sort of like celebrate what I was able to do, because there was always like a little nugget of something. Like, it was like, okay, well, I can actually do this like little piece of it. And so it was the first time that I was like recognizing the things I could do instead of just always like trying to like fix something. Like every other workout I had done in my life, I was always trying to fix something about myself. Like, it was like, okay, you've got to change this, or you've got to tighten this up or do this. And it was like, oh, wait, like I can focus on like what I can do. And that was like really different and cool for me. So that's like how I got in and how it really like captivated me.
I have a very similar story, right? Because it's,
Really?
yeah, yeah. Right. It didn't really come easy. I had a dance background, but it didn't really come easily. It was like, I don't know, it was so much coordination that I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting.
right, right. It's like you get in there and you're like, okay, I can see what's happening and I can understand how this works. But when I actually like go to do it, it doesn't just happen, like I've gotta really like be persistent about this
Yeah.
for sure.
Right. But I love that you bring up like the small little goals because that was also part of my story too. It was like really cool just to see like, oh my gosh, like I'm up the pole.
Yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just to think like, okay, so beginning about, okay, I'm gonna spin around the pole. All right, we'll get that. And then it's like, okay, so wait a second, I'm gonna start to go up the pole. Like, how does that work? Because I'm looking at this thing and I don't see any like notches or steps. So how exactly is my body gonna go up this thing? But then, it's a process and you start working and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm climbing up the pole, right? And then next thing you know, you're like, wait a second. Over time, like, I can sit on the pole, right? And there's no seat here. Like, this is my body, like, holding me up, So, like, it just builds, right? But, for many of us, it's a lot of perseverance. It's a lot of pushing out of the comfort zone. And it's not an instant gratification sport, is what I always say. This is not an instant gratification sport. If it was, I wouldn't have a job because I'm a pole instructor, and there would not be like pole studios or pole businesses, right? Because everybody would just know how to pole dance, So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Did you have any sort of like dance or gymnastics background before you came to pole?
So, I mean, very basic, I was on cheer when I was in high school and dance and stuff like that. But outside of that, I don't have any like formal dance training or anything like that. I love music and, I love to move and dance, but that's really it for me. I always say the only reason I'm still polling is just because I never stopped showing up. It's really the only explanation for me. It's like, well, she just never stopped showing up. That's the only possible explanation for this. Because it's been 10 years and I don't really know why else I'm still here.
I love it. Right? Like, also, like, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, this is exactly what I like doing. It's not always perfect. I have my moments of frustration and tears and all of that, but ultimately, I still love it.
So how long into your pole training did you start to want to become a pole teacher?
Yeah, so it was about it was exactly 5 years when I started teaching, but it was a few years prior to that. I really started to learn how to, like, what I say, validate from within. So I actually came from the corporate world, from marketing. And, there were a lot of different, I guess, sort of measuring sticks that I compared myself to, as a business person, as a mom, I mean, we all wear so many different hats, right? And I think that we have a tendency to like measure ourselves against these different roles that we have in our life. And the more that I took pole classes, I was able to validate from within and go, okay, wait a second. Like, I can take off these hats that I wear and I can just kind of focus on myself, even if it's just for like the class duration, and go like, you know what? Like, I'm making progress here. Like, I am accomplishing things here, and that validates me from within, and I was like connecting to myself, and it was like pretty amazing. That was kind of like the first time that had ever happened for me in my life. And kind of like while all of that was happening and really like, coming to fruition for me, like internally, the company I had been working for 15 years got bought out. And they were just completely reorganizing and doing like layoffs and all of these different things. And I like to say it was like the universe, like perfect alignment, like, we're releasing you to your destiny. Right? And my destiny was to not work there anymore. So that's how that story ended. And so I decided to get certified in 2019. I became Vertical Arts Athletic Certified, and I started teaching beginning pole. And it was just kind of like, if I could take that sort of sense of how to validate from within and get people to really like dial into themselves and connect with themselves just for whatever like little bit of time that they're with me, like bottle that up. Like that's what I want to do. Like that's what I'm after. Like that's like my calling, like at this time, and that's what I've been doing since 2019. I've helped hundreds of students connect with themselves from beginner to advanced level. And that's what I'm called to do. And that's where I'm at right now. And it's been really awesome.
I love the common theme you bring up of reevaluating yourself and kind of just connecting with yourself because a lot of pole dancing is humbling. Like you really have to assess your weaknesses to improve yourself. And it's like
Yeah.
what you said, always kind of reevaluating yourself and connecting with your body.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. And that's like a continual conversation that I have with myself and also with my students is like, let's have grace with ourselves. You know, like let's have grace with ourselves so that we can say, okay, you know what, we're doing hard things here. And whatever expectations that we have, because I know I do it to myself all the time, like I expect myself to be able to do things, maybe because I've done it before, or I just think I should be able to do it, right? But it's really like not fair to put that expectation on myself because I'm not the same person every day. My body's not the same. Maybe I haven't slept the same. I haven't eaten the same, whatever it is. Like just take that expectation, throw it out the window. Like it's not fair. And have the grace, like to do that, and just say, like, you know what, maybe it's not today, but that's okay. I've got to be okay with that, and it's difficult to release that and give yourself grace. But I think it's so important, but it's also a reminder of how strong we are as polars, right? Because our mental game is tough. We are really tough because when we go into these classes, not only what we're doing physically is so hard, but we are mentally dialed in. We are not zoned out. We are all in here, and it's a lot. It's so much energy and mindset, and it's just amazing. And like I tell my students all the time, I'm like, you guys have superpowers. Don't forget that. You have total superpowers, really do.
Right. I always considered pole like do the one scary thing every day.
Yes, right? Yeah.
Pole yes, done. Did it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. And sometimes like the scary thing is like showing up, right? Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I got myself here. Or sometimes it's, I just attempted this thing, like, cause again, we're doing like big things that require mindset and physical like energy as well. Total superheroes. Total superheroes.
Well, do you want to tell us a little bit about elevated aerial?
Sure, I would love to. So it's been like a really exciting year for me. So after like a lot of consideration, sitting with, how can I best serve students and, what I've come to recognize as their needs and how that relates to like their lifestyle and everything. And how can I like best serve the pole community? But also how can I continue to like grow as an instructor and an individual? I decided to launch Elevated Aerial LLC. And so that is the brand under which I offer all of my pole instruction. So classes, private lessons, private events, parties and such, workshops. Even going to do a photo shoot coming up here in about a month for a bunch of students. Yeah, really exciting. So I have some students who have never been captured for pole photos. And this is a version of themselves that like they really want to, have captured and be seen. They've put a lot of work into their pole practice and they're really excited. So I'm going to be partnering with KT Lee Photos. And we are going to be doing really cool, a holiday party and photo shoot. And, it's just been really amazing to be able to be in touch with, students and offer them these great options that are in touch with their schedules and their budgets and just really be in tune with what they need to serve them in their pole practice. It's been great. It's been scary, and it's been a huge learning process for me because I'm my own gig. So there's like a really high learning curve, and I'm still learning. But I love the flexibility that it offers me. And I just also have been really lucky to be able to rent space in this beautiful flex space, Misfit Aerial Studios. And it's really nice because I rent studio space, and then I'm allowed to offer these options, classes, workshops, again, all these things that I've mentioned to students in a way that suits their needs as well as mine. And it's just been really amazing and wonderful. I can do what I love, which is offering boutique style classes. So one person per pole, 6 people, and that allows me to really focus in on my students and check in on them and say, like, hey, how are you feeling today? What's your energy level like? Is there anything specific you want to focus in on? Okay, if so, let's do it. If not, I have a few ideas. Let's play around with them and really just be in touch with them and what they're in the mood for spending their time on. And it's just, I'm so, so, so grateful for what I've been able to do this year.
And can you let us all know where it's located?
Yeah, so Misfit Aerial is in Montgomery, Illinois. And if you go on Instagram, you can find them if you just look. Actually, if you look at my Instagram handle, which is Elevate with Me, ELLE_VATE with me. There's a link to my classes and then also a link to Misfit Aerial, so you can find them there.
Yeah, so we will have all those links in the comments and notes for people to access when they're listening and watching.
Yes, and also exciting, Misfit is expanding. So in early 2025, they are adding on a third studio space, which is going to be 1,000 square feet. Yeah, it's so awesome. And it's going to be dedicated pole space as well as a performance venue. So that's going to be like, I know, right? Like it's a dream come true. So great things happening all around there.
Yeah. And you said that the poles are permanent, because I was going to ask if you have to take them down or put them up after each class, or
No, so the way that they have their rigging set up currently, there's 2 studio rooms, and it is able to be taken down or put up based on what you want to rig for, because the space is shared amongst other aerial instructors. So there's Lyra being taught there, there's Silks, aerial yoga. I'm missing a bunch of other things because we have such a phenomenal array of aerial arts instructors there. So please check out the website and look everybody up. But my point is that the poles can be removed, but don't need to be. I do not take up or put down any poles. I go into my room and they're set, and then I walk away. But they could be if they needed to be. In the new space, the poles will be permanently rigged in that area, if that answers your question.
how tall are the ceilings?
So, oh my gosh, I believe that, well, so it's a flex space, right? So the actual ceiling to deck, oh my gosh, I don't even know for sure because it's just massive. But the actual rigging is steel rig, okay? And so I believe that the poles are, and don't quote me here, I think that they are 12, possibly 14 feet. Yeah. So they're industry, they're loop-it poles. So yeah, they're beautiful poles.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That's
Very,
ex-
very nice equipment there.
Hell yeah. That sounds so amazing. I think
It
that,
is, it is, it is. And they've done a beautiful job with the lighting and the sound system and just gorgeous flooring. And it's just been so wonderful to be in that space.
hell yeah. And then the opportunity to have performances there, that's spectacular.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really great. Um, there was a showcase in the fall, and it was very nice, for example, for pole students to be able to come in and do like a full dress rehearsal the day before, I'm sorry, the week before, in the actual space where they were going to be performing. It was super helpful for them to be able to get on the pole and move around the pole and understand like their floor space and what they were going to have to work with, before they had to actually do it for the show. So it was really great. So really excited for that space to open up.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
yes.
Thank you. We're all excited.
Earlier, before we started, you mentioned that you mentioned it's like share be having a roommate and you share like a business or like a share space and you loved it. Do you
Yeah.
mind getting into a little bit about that for people who may be wanting to start a studio and not sure
Yeah.
if it alone, etc.?
Oh, in terms of like the actual how my business works in terms of.
Right? Like, are you guys like co-oping together? Like, how is it?
Oh, sure. Okay, now I understand. Okay, so sure. So the way that Misfit operates is it's a flex space. So when someone who has their own business wants to come in, they have an opportunity to become a member. So, for example, I am a member, so I pay a fee to be able to run classes there. And then from there, everything else is a room rental. So you're looking at a schedule, and again, this is where like the fun like roommate part comes into play, right? Because it's like kind of like if you imagine like if you grew up with siblings and you guys all shared a bathroom or something. It was like, okay, like when are you going to be getting ready in the bathroom, or like when do you need to shower, right? Or like what is this or what? So you're kind of like it's like that, right? So you're looking at the schedule, going, okay, so this person runs their classes at this time, this person runs their classes at this time, like when am I able to rent and put my schedule together? And that's kind of like how we all operate, and we have an understanding of who's doing their classes when. And then as far as workshops are concerned, we all communicate, and it's like, okay, so we know that this person is doing their workshop this time, or for this person this time of year is when they prefer to run more workshops, or they have this or that coming up or whatever. And we just kind of all like cohabitate together, and it's really awesome. And we have like some great communication lines, and we just talk to each other. And what's really great is when anyone comes into Misfit for any aerial discipline, whether it be pole or lyra or aerial yoga or silks or whatever, they come in, they're supporting a small business, an individual small business. So when people come into Misfit, there's actually a business card rack on the wall, and everyone has their business cards in there, and you can actually see all the different businesses that filter in and out of there. And so it's really cool. It's like a co-op. And yeah, we just sort of all like cohabitate together.
I love that. That's awesome. I wonder,
Yeah.
um, do the students, for like class passes, do they all pay for like, is it the same class pass for every class, or do you all?
No, so every instructor has their own individual business. So, for example, students who buy my class packs, those are just for my classes. And then someone may have a class pack from another instructor who teaches Lyra, and that's just for that instructor. So it's all like individual by business.
I love that. That's clever. It allows small entrepreneurs in the area field kind of have a space without having a space.
Yes. Yes, it is. It really does. And again, kind of just going back to like that great opportunity, of like, okay, so here's my chance to look at, how can I serve, for me, it's the pole community, but for these other instructors, like whatever their aerial discipline is, like, how can I serve this community, and what opportunities do I have? And like, here's the space for me to do it. And it's really awesome.
Right? Because mirrors are expensive.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Mirrors, floors, lighting, sound, you know, everything, right?
Right? But you
So,
all use it.
so we're so lucky to be able to have this opportunity, right? And then the fact that someone's creating a whole third studio room for us to use, brand new. I mean, everything that we have right now is new, and now we're going to have extra new. It's like super exciting.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I hope more dancers hear this idea and team up with other aerials and gyms and
Yes,
stuff like that.
yes,
Take
yes,
over
yes.
malls.
Right? And if anybody ever wants to come visit, like please, like shoot me a message on Instagram. I'd be happy to have you come on in and show you around and just even chat with you about like, the thought process behind my move, and what I did to set myself up and how it's worked for me, and I'd be more than happy to discuss those things because it's been a great experience for me.
Yes, we'll have her contact info in the notes and captions, y'all, as a reminder.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
What do you get to teach with Elevated Area? What are some of your classes you enjoy teaching on your schedule?
So right now I am doing a class. It's called Flow and Fly. And that class is a beginner to intermediate level class. And it's focused on like fundamentals. And we do really everything in there from floor work to, static pole fundamentals to a little bit of spin work. So I'm actually teaching that class tonight. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a spin pass. And I always like to sneak in some conditioning in there. So there's going to be a little bit of bracket hold conditioning, but I make it fun. And I always love to save time at the end of my classes for freestyle. I turn the lights down, I put the music up, and I'm like, just dance. Whatever movement comes up, let it out, like enjoy yourself, and just explore. So that's the Flow and Fly class. And then I have another class that I'm teaching, and it's called Refine. And Refine is for the more intermediate to advanced level student. And in there, we explore kind of like the deeper concepts behind advanced movement. So we're looking at like more advanced choreography, floor work, more advanced tricks, and then also kind of how to piece and flow those things together, right? So if you're thinking about overall all of the pieces that go into pole, thinking about, well, how do you use all of your space, right? So like, am I using my floor space? Am I using my standing space? And if I'm somebody who likes airspace, because I mean, not everybody does, right? Not everybody wants to go up the pole, and that's okay, but like, how do you flow all those things together? And really, like, how do you do that in a way that's authentic for you? Like, isn't that the real question? Like, what feels good and authentic for your body? Because if it doesn't feel authentic for you, you shouldn't be doing it. And that's okay, right? Because there is something that's good and authentic for you, it's just connecting and finding what that thing is, right? And so, like, for example, there are tricks that I don't have in my bucket of things I can do, but there are also things that I don't want to do. I'll teach them, right? I'll teach them. because they're good for other people and other bodies. But for me, I'm like, no, thank you. Right? And I tell my students that all the time. I'm like, you know what? Like, if you want this, if you feel like this is good for you and your body, I'll get you there. We'll condition, we will learn, we'll progress there. But please, like, don't do this because you feel like you have to, because you don't have to. Like, if it doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. Just don't. Like, can you guys think of like a trick or maybe a move that maybe at some point in your practice, you're like, I've got to be able to do this. And then you're like, no.
Aisha.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Funny.
Yes.
Allegra.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I've spent years of my life. Years. Years.
Yes.
For what?
Yeah.
I have physical trauma from the Allegra. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? Those are fine moves for certain people, but yeah, like, it's okay to not do the things that don't feel good for us. Yes. 1,000%. Mm-hmm.
It is. I feel like social media makes it worse. Like for some reason, it gets in our head and gives us this image of it has to be this way. And you're so right. Like, do what feels right. Don't force yourself into stuff just because people on social media are doing it.
Right? Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. For me, I have scoliosis. I have very bad scoliosis. And so I don't have a ton of like upper thoracic mobility. And so for me, a move that will probably never happen is like a smooth aerial ballerina. It's beautiful. I have so much admiration for that move. But for me, I have tried so many different ways and things and training and this and that. And it's just not in the stars for me, and it doesn't feel, my shoulders and everything will wind up feeling horrible, if I push it too far. And it's just like, okay, I've come to peace with the fact that that is not for this body. What am I going to do?
Thank you for sharing that. Because I have recently learned I have students and have had students with a scoliosis, and it
Oh,
stops them from doing certain things. May I ask, do you have any tips for us instructors or for dancers with scoliosis on ways to train to help them be safe and do the thing at the same time?
yeah, absolutely. It will make your pole practice different, but it will not make your pole practice impossible. In fact, pole is what keeps my spine as healthy as it can be, really. So what I would say is this: I spend a lot of time stretching my hips, my hip flexors, my glutes, also activating my glutes. Students in my class always hear me say, like, squeeze your booty. Are you using your booty? Activate it, because when you're actually using your glutes and your booty, you're taking pressure off your lower back. And that is so very important, I do in all of my warm-ups with my classes some very basic spinal decompression moves. Cat-cow is one of them. Supine twist, ragdoll forward fold, all of those right there. They also have a tendency to relax people, which I think is very helpful. So those types of yoga poses, which have potential to decompress the spine and loosen up, again, hips, lower back, and also relax people, I think are extremely helpful. Depending on like the curve of the spine, it's individual to the person. you really have to think about certain moves that are not going to be great for you. So, for me, I tend to look at things in a way of, okay, so if I do want this move, what's the best approach for me to get into it, right? So, like, for example, if I'm teaching what I call the pretzel spin, which is sort of like the precursor to a ballerina, I'm thinking, okay, I can set my hips by doing a sit and then threading through, or I can set my shoulders, which for me, I don't have a ton of flexibility, right? I can start in a reverse grab position on the pole, on spin pole, and then I can wrap my hips around. I have a lot more flexibility with my hips. So kind of thinking about, again, the individual and their body. And okay, so, if they have less flexibility in the upper body, can we work with the lower body or vice versa, Or is it a move that just isn't right for them?
Thank you for sharing that. You've given me a lot to think about, especially
Yeah.
our students, because I'm always trying to grow and make sure I meet everybody's needs.
Well, and we all are. And that's what makes you a good instructor, that you care, is because that's really what it's about, right? It's when they're with us, we want to help them recognize, what feels good and what feels right and what they want to pursue and what they want to develop. And, that's something that I also talk to my students about is like, okay, so, you're going to have growth and you can have comfort, but you can't have them together. And so I'll be like, okay, you're going to have moves that go into your bucket of growth, right? And make sure that they're worth it, right? So kind of like what we just talked about, like these growth moves, like make sure that they're right for you and your body, because they're going to take time. They're going to take conditioning. They're going to take sweat and tears and bruises. You can tell I'm speaking from experience. You can tell I've been crumpled up on the floor, like crying, balled up. I've definitely had my run with growth moves. Make sure they're worth it. And I can tell you that I have gotten my growth moves. And it's awesome when it happens. Make sure they're good for you and your body and like grow for it. Right. And then there's going to be moves that like feel comfortable to you. And those are your comfort moves and they go in your comfort bucket. And those are the ones that like pretty much from the get-go, they're going to feel like good and comfortable to you. And they're just going to feel natural. And you need to keep those handy for the times when life really is hard and other things like tricks or just whatever's going on outside the studio like has you really down. Like you need those comfort moves. You need them to keep connected to yourself. You need them to remind you of the stuff about pole that's good and good for you, and like it's okay to be in that place of duality. It's okay to bounce back and forth between growth and comfort, and like take as long as you need going back and forth, right? Like there's times that I have been in growth and then I step away and I'm like in comfort and I'm like, I've been in comfort for a long time, but that's okay. My fall, I've been mostly in comfort because I've been going through some things and I can't imagine being in the growth bucket right now, but I need pole to be a constant for me to remind me that it's okay to move and feel comfortable in my body, and that's really where I'm at right now. I certainly would not be capable of training for any high level trick right now. And I'm giving myself the grace to admit that. So, that's kind of like really what I try to remind my students too, you know.
Right, I feel that. I'm also in my comfort era.
Yeah, in my comfort era. Let's hear it for the comfort era.
You
Love
mentioned
it.
you had some go-to tricks. Would you like to share
Uh,
some favorite pull tricks with us?
Well, so on that topic, I would also say that the tricks that were the hardest for me to learn are also my favorite ones to teach because in that process of learning them, I became like so empathetic. You know, again, I'm not the person that gets things usually right away. So, for example, you know, for me, Superman took almost 2 years. And the reason is because I did not fall effortlessly into the perfect flat plank position, right? It took me a while to figure out how to be able to leverage my inside thigh toward my body and then be able to turn and twist my hips and get that inside leg to clear the pole. It took me a hot minute to figure that out. But the good news is now I have it down pat and I can really work with my students when they struggle with that because there's a lot of them that do. And I don't Superman often, maybe like twice a year, and when I'm teaching it. So, same with Aisha. So we talked about that earlier. I mean, I almost want to have you guess how long you think it took me to get my Aisha, but I don't know that you would. So I'm just going to flat out tell you. I've been polling for 10 years, and it took me 6 years to get my split grip Aisha. And you heard me correctly, 6. It just took me like, were you crying? Chris, you okay?
oh no, I have allergies, and I'm
Oh,
thinking.
okay. I'm like, oh my God, okay. I'm like, I'm okay. So it just took me a really long time to figure out like my split grip. And I do think part of it is because of the scoliosis. I have a different sort of a variable there to figure out with like the bracket hold, like the pull and the push. But outside of that, like invested 6 years of my life in that one. But the good news is, again, the good news, I now can tell students exactly what they should be recognizing in their own bodies when they're training their bracket hold, right? And then how does that apply to like the process of training for inverted bracket hold moves, right? And then also like, okay, so by the way, Aisha has a few different grips, right? So you could do split grip, but you should also do elbow grip or twisted grip, or like, you know, let's figure this out. And also let's figure out your method of entry too, because one way of entry that someone else may use might not be the best for your body, right? So there was a lot. My attempts that didn't work for myself became all these other ways for me to explore to teach it for other people. But I did fall on the ground and cry a lot.
You mean
So
safely on a safety mat?
yeah, well, yeah, not like falling, like hurting myself, but like literally, like just like collapsing and crying, like, oh my God. And I think anyone was like, who made this move? Who invented this move? Who? Tell me. Why? Who got this up? But I wanted it because I'm like, this is a beautiful, powerful move. That was the thing. I was committed to it because I respected it. And I still do. I love it. But yeah, I struggled for sure.
Right, same. Thanks for bringing that up because I have hypermobile everything, so that's my reason.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes,
Everyone's
yes.
body's
So it's like,
different, yeah.
Yep, micro bend and yep,
Every day is
all
different for these shoulders.
that. Yes, yes, yes,
You
yes.
got it, Alicia, Mandy. You recently did get it.
Yay! Congratulations! Oh my gosh, it's so
It
exciting.
comes and goes.
Yes, yes, yes. I like to say, I'm like, oh, you got a visit from the Asia Fairy. Yay! Congratulations.
I love that. I'm going to start saying that.
Yes, yeah, that's amazing. I love it. I love it so much. Yes.
If you keep working at it, she visits you more. You'll be more times of success and less failures as you keep practicing. At least that's what I found.
Oh, yeah. Yes, for sure.
Comfort era. Comfort era.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll go back every once in a while and I'll do like a skills check. I'll be like, okay, can I still do these things? Okay, thank you. You know, so.
Right? Inside leg hook gets me all the time.
Mm. Which is interesting because I love outside leg hang. Usually people have a preference, right? And I'm like, I just default to outside leg hang. Inside leg hang, not so much. So I have been exploring alternate ways to get in. Inside leg hang to me is just more of like a hip hold. It's not really like a leg hang, is what I'm discovering. I'm like, can we just call this what it is? Inside hip hang? Okay.
Maybe that's why it's so pinchy for me. Because
Yes, it is. It is. I'm like, this is not my leg. This is my hip. This is in the crease of my hip.
Oh my
I was gonna
goodness.
say, aren't there 3 points of contact? I'm trying to picture it. It's like hip, calf, and thigh, right?
It was pain, pain, and pain. What it is.
Too funny. That
But,
is big inside like him. Ooh, dogs.
yes, my dog's outside barking. But it is interesting because, I do make it a point to explain to students, like, just so you're aware, inside out leg hang and outside leg hang, I mean, they're really not the same at all. So don't think that they are. Like, I'm going to call them inside and outside leg hang, but outside of that, there's really not many similarities. Like, they feel different, like different pressure points on your body. Like, let me just explain this to you.
Right? Everyone's legs are all so different. Like I've seen some people get the inside leg hook in their knee pit, but I'm like, how did you do that?
Well, I think it has to do with like actually like the mobility of that inside hip, right? Like, so depending on how much that inside hip opens depends on how much that leg hooks. So it's like, okay, it's really, again, it comes down, this is a hip hold. I'm just going to start calling it something else. There is no inside leg hang.
An inside hip knee.
Yeah, that's what it is. The inside hip knee hang. Invented in 2024.
Yes. Did you mention a least favorite trick that you might have?
I think we just figured it out.
I like hay.
I'm pretty sure inadvertently we just called it out right there.
Too funny.
I mean,
Yes. All right.
I figured out, if I'm teaching a combo, yeah, I can guarantee 90% of them will not have an inside leg hang. Although there is one V-sit, wrist sit to an inside leg hang that I do enjoy teaching.
That sounds so cool.
I will send you a video of it because it does get you into a comfortable knee inside hip hang. The new name for it.
I can imagine it and I can't even.
I'll send you a video of it. Yeah.
I do like me a wrist sit.
Right? It's fun. You can do it on spin, you can do it on static.
Yes.
So, got lots of options.
Yes. Did you mention at all if you teach online as well, or?
I am not teaching online currently, but that would be something coming possibly in 2025. I would love to be able to offer online teachings, perhaps tutorials. So that is something, that I would be looking into to continue growing myself and my business.
Exciting. So that brings me to where do you hope to see yourself and your business in 5 years?
Ooh, 5 years. Oh gosh. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, I come from the marketing corporate world. And I would say in 5 years, what I'd really like to be able to see myself doing is being able to continue working with students, to be able to connect with themselves and grow their pole practice and what feels good and authentic to them and reaching their goals. I would also like to be able to work with instructors to help them kind of figure out, like, what is my calling of what I enjoy teaching? What do I feel is the greatest strength that I have to share with students, and how do I connect with that? And then how do I share that, like, with them? Like, what's the best way for me to bring that to them? And how do I deliver that message? And, really, like, how do we just go about kind of like spreading this good thing that we have, and really like creating, safe and neutral spaces for people to continue practicing pole and learning pole, and being able then to take like what they learn and take in and figure out from there, like, well, what do they want to do with that? Do they want to keep it as their hobby? Do they enjoy maybe performing or competing? Or, maybe do they want to become instructors? Like, it's like, like, how do we spread this so then like other people can take it in and then also just like figure out like, oh, like, this is kind of cool. Like, how do I want to use this? And I just love so much that I got to be a part of this podcast today, because I just believe there's like so much, power in conversation and like connecting and just like sharing like our ideas and our thoughts and like our experiences, and I think that when people, open up and talk and, just share, it just really opens up a lot of doors for other people. Maybe someone will hear something that I said, or Mandy or Cris, you said today, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, totally, and I think that that's like super powerful, So thank you so much for letting me be a part of this today.
Um,
Sure.
True, our pleasure. Thank you for being here. I mean, it is humbling. We're going on season 4, and even now we have people reach out to us from episodes from season 1 that helped them, and that is exactly why we do this, to, like you said, share stories and learn together and grow together. So thank you for taking your time and being part of it.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's so awesome and it's so important, and I've listened to other episodes, and it's just so great to hear people's messages and their experiences, and to be able to learn from that too. It's just awesome. So it's great that you guys, allow people to have this channel to communicate. So thank you.
Thank
I
you.
know
Thank you.
definitely for myself, I've learned so much just like you said from listening to people's stories. It's just like you see yourself in other people and it makes you feel like you are not like you're on the
No,
right journey,
no.
or like you have some
Right.
things that are similar.
Right, exactly. And it's really awesome, because it's like, I think too, we see each other on social media, right? Which there's great value of that, because there's so much visual content behind pole. Like it's so important to see, what we're doing. But at the same time, like we don't get this, like, so for example, like you may see something of mine on social media, but we don't get to talk about the fact that, like it took me X number of years, or like, I was laying on the floor crying, or whatever, So it's like this layer of like conversation and connection that's like so important. And I'm just so grateful for that, so thank you.
Love it. Yes. OMG, I feel like we had more questions than they like left my head.
I think
Yes.
we answered a lot of them just in conversation. There was one that we didn't ask. What do you do in your free time?
Oh, what free time? I mean, I haven't had a ton of free time lately because I've been building this business, right? So, I had to learn like some web design. I have upped my safety certifications, and a few of my other certifications. Been just learning a ton about insurance and LLC, and soon I will be upping my business accounting game with tax season coming. So I've been getting like a crash course in MBA here, which has been awesome. But yeah, like muggle job, like this is my everything right now. So, but if I have free time, I'll let you know.
Well, thanks for being real about that. I had to take a step back from teaching to do all the things, so I really admire your ability to like do all of the things.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, I can't even imagine, because I know a little bit about what you two have built, and it's just like, incredible. So I can only imagine, doing what you both do, and then also like, having this podcast as well. It's, yeah. So
It's hashtag worth it though.
yeah.
Hashtag,
Oh my gosh. Oh.
hashtag.
It's hashtag appreciated very much.
Right. I'm also in my comfort era, so like
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. I am too.
I don't ask if what do you have a specific favorite hand grip that you use or one that you advise to other people? That's one that we ask.
Okay. Yes. Well, so this is probably going to be a longer answer than you anticipated. So grip is an interesting topic with me. So thanks to some extensive childhood trauma, I had hyperhidrosis, extremely overactivated central nervous system. You guys are like, man, she is definitely an exception. Like, we can't believe she's still in full scoliosis, hyperhidrosis. Like, the odds were not in my favor. Also, starting late 30s, right? Again, the only reason I'm here is because I kept showing up. So, I tried so many different things in terms of like, topical antiperspirants for my hands. I tried oral medications, grips. I wore gloves. For me personally, super severe hyperhidrosis. What is hyperhidrosis? Okay, well, the first thing I ask my students, again, this whole experience made me much more empathetic to sweaty hands, sweaty bodies, sweaty everything, is, do your hands sweat when you're not in class? And it's rare that people will answer me yes. So if they don't answer me yes, typically I'll say to them, okay, this is a common reaction to what you're having. Think about what you're asking your body to do. And so your brain is just sending a little message to your hands going, no way, like, this is not typical. So over time, that reaction is going to lessen. But in the meantime, let's wipe down the pole with rubbing alcohol. We can spritz your hands with rubbing alcohol. Am I allowed to say specific brands on here? Okay, so I say Dawn dish soap. So at our studio, we'll keep a bottle of Dawn dish soap in the bathroom, and I'll say, go visit Dawn, wash your hands, and come back, because that will take out any kind of moisture, oils, perspiration, whatever. Let's see how that feels, and kind of start from there. And then based on how that is, I'll recommend usually some dry hands. It depends also. Sometimes their hands are so dry that actually makes it slippy. If that's the case, I'll suggest a little spritz of Windex. I got it all covered, right? Because here's the thing. I've been in that situation where I couldn't do a trick because I didn't have the right grip. And it's so frustrating. It's one thing to not be able to do a trick because you don't have, the strength or the flexibility or whatever skill is needed. But when you're in a position where you know that you can do something, but your hands are too sweaty, it's like so frustrating. And so it's like, I got to help you take that off the table, right? So again, for me though, in my situation, horrible hyperhidrosis, there was like no alternative solution. I wound up having a procedure actually done. The only way for me to really treat it was to have what's called an ETS. And so what happens when you have an ETS is they actually put clamps on the branches of my sympathetic nervous system that control the message from my brain to my hands so that my hands won't sweat anymore, which is pretty wild because I had such a severe case of hyperhidrosis. So my hands don't sweat anymore, but again, just makes me so empathetic to those students that come into my room and are in that situation where they can't do something because their grip is off, because man, that is tough. And for the students that answer me, yes, my hands do sweat outside of class, I'll say, you know what, let's have a conversation outside of class. And I want to learn more and, share a little bit with you, and see kind of where you're at with this experience.
Thank you so much for sharing that honestly.
Yeah.
Learned so much today.
Right. I didn't know that there was a surgery like that. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's I know where I live in Chicago, there's only one, maybe two surgeons who actually do it. But yeah, that's there's different other treatment options. Some people, have done Botox injections and things like that, and there's other treatments and whatnot. But again, my case was so severe that it was okay, this is really the only thing that's gonna work. And I was like, well, I wanna do pole, and as a polar, this is dangerous, so let's take care of it.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I think you're the first person we've talked to about this, so this is such a learning experience.
Super important.
Yeah.
It's again, when you are a polar with hyperhidrosis, it is, you see things in a completely different lens, because you're not just looking at a mover trick thinking, can my body physically do this? You're also thinking how are my hands going to get me through this? And can I get through it once? Can I get through it twice? How am I going to do this? It's a extra layer of consideration. And, even thinking about, say, for example, someone who might want to compete or perform, then you're maybe looking at everyone else going, well, if I wear gloves, is that allowed, or is that going to distinguish me differently, or this or that? Like, it's just a whole other level, and everyone has challenges, right? So I recognize that, but, I just would say, to anyone who has hyperhidrosis or who is dealing with that and pole, to give yourself grace, and as instructors, to just try to be supportive of, that, because especially, with pole, we're hanging on with our hands, so it's kind of a big deal.
You also mentioned that your students who had dry hands, which is what I have, the Windex
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, so spritzing the pole with Windex can add in like just a little bit of actually moisture and can make it tacky. So I'll encourage them to kind of experiment with that too. I'll say like, well, why don't we, spritz just like a little bit of Windex on there and see how that feels for you. Because so, again, being in the suburbs of Chicago, we have such drastic temperature changes, and that really affects people's skin. So with that, it's like, okay, so we go from summer sweaty season into cold, dry skin sweet season. It's like, oh man, so what are we going to do? Right. And so it's like, okay, well, we'll figure it out. So, some people have really dry skin. Some people have oily skin, some people are sweaty. And so like, let's just assess where we're at and see, and I always encourage people, like, it's trial and error, and, just be as dry as you can be for what you want to do, like in that moment. We turn fans on. I always tell my students, I'm like, don't be shy about turning fans on.
Right.
Right. That's what the fan is there for. Go turn it on. Air things out, your hands, your booty, whatever you need to do. Like, that's what it's there for. Go to the bathroom whenever you need to use a bathroom, wipe stuff down, like whatever it is, do what you need to do. Don't be shy about
it. Right. I'm going to have to try the Windex because the colder season right now is when my knee pits stop working.
So. Yeah, try cleaning it with Windex and see, what you think about that.
Yeah, thank you for that tip.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. Oh my goodness. You have given us so much to think about. Yes.
You're like, wow.
This is why we do it, to learn so much and share it. And it's always so fun and humbling. Hyperallergenic ETS. I can't.
Yeah. I'm definitely an anomaly. The full world.
I'm sure there's so many others going through this who don't know how to handle it, or don't know what to do, or at a loss of words about it.
Yeah, and too, like, if anyone also wants to reach out to me on this topic, I am more than happy to listen, to share whatever perspective or any input. If you want input, I'll give you input. If you want me just to listen, happy just to listen as someone who's been there. Just know that you're not alone at all.
Nope. And we'll have all her links and ways to contact. Notes and comments, y'all. Don't forget, notes and comments.
Yeah.
So much fun. I love this. Is there anything else you would love to share with us or the audience about yourself, about Elevated Aerial, about what's to come? Any tips? Anything?
No, I really feel like, we have just covered a lot of stuff. I feel like people will listen to this and, maybe have questions or just a lot of thoughts swirling about all the many different things. So I guess I would just say, don't hesitate to reach out. Any input I can provide, or just listening, or, willing to connect. And, Mændy and Cris, you guys are ever in Chicago, please come visit.
We would love
to meet you guys and dance with you would be amazing. So it would be great.
Mandy, we got to do this tour. Season 4. It's been too damn long.
Right?
Why?
Figure this out.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That would be great for you guys. As we were just talking about how you don't have any free time. How about you plan a cross-country tour?
We literally plan it at the end of every interview, and then we never follow up on it. So we have to follow up.
I think it's we wanted to. It's the following up, and finances is a big thing, especially the farther we get, it gets more expensive.
Right.
We'll figure it out.
We
I can
will.
imagine that, for sure.
Too many people are asking. It's past time.
Right? Well,
Give the people what they want. We want Mandy and Cris.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Yes, we'll definitely have to come and visit. I would love to see the studio and like the whole space that you guys have.
I'm like, yes. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Yes. And we can dance and do all the things. It would be great.
Yes.
Mhm.
Until then, thank you everyone for listening to or watching this episode of Pull on the Call podcast. My name is Mændy Mac.
Woo! Maybe we'll be sick. Woo!
Yes, with Laura, owner of Elevated Aerial. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
This was so much fun.